Victorian firefighters have been offered a major pay increase from the state government. Under the deal, 4,500 firefighters will receive an upfront payment of $7,000, as well as a gradual 12% pay rise over the next 4 years. The United Firefighters Union had previously demanded a 25% increase over 3 years. The deal is conditional on the removal of the controversial Firefighters Registration Board, as the union works to create an alternative. Let's go to Canberra now. Joining us live is the NDIS Minister, Bill Shorten. Bill, good to see you. Just off the back of that, that's a big pay rise. Do you have any concerns that will be inflationary?
Well, the inflation rate's higher than that, but I don't know that the EBA's concluded yet, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. But to be very straightforward, I think firefighters earn their money. The job they do is one which is crucial, and I know it always bemuses me actually that when workers are debating getting wage rises, which are certainly less than the headline rate of inflation, somehow there's a lot of pearl clutching from the big end of town. Why don't we have the same coverage about the bank profits when mortgagees are, practically weeping tears of blood? Why don't we have the same discussion about massive corporate profits when inflation is going up? And I worry sometimes that big corporations are using the fog of inflation to basically enhance their own profits at the expense of consumers and mortgage holders.
Okay, just switching topics, and this will all be unveiled later on today, Bill, but foreign aid, I've just got a short amount of time, but Mark Bosnich went over, we'll blame him and the Matildas. This will all be unveiled later on, but did you watch the game last night, by the way?
Absolutely. It's great watching the Matildas. Their commitment to each other, and they're having fun, they're committed to their team members, they're making continuous effort. What I really love, though, is that there's a generation of young Australian girls being inspired by the Matildas. What the Matildas are teaching young Australian women is that there's no boundaries to what they can achieve in the future. It's just fantastic.
No, great. A great World Cup. Hopefully we can keep going as well. Bill, now, foreign aid projects above $3 million, they'll need to address gender inequality, and 80% will need to have climate change objectives. It's under a new development policy. So is that the quid pro quo? I mean, these details are coming out later on. So if you satisfy those requirements, you go and get the money.
Well, I know that our Foreign Minister and our Pacific Minister will talk further about this in the course of the day. But for a decade, there's basically been a vacuum in our Pacific policy, and other nations have sought to fill the vacuum. The world doesn't stand still if Australia doesn't take an interest in our neighbourhood. The Pacific is important. I'll never forget that, our grandparents, relied on people of the Pacific nations in the war against Japan. I think we do have an obligation to work with them, not in a paternalistic manner, but in a friendly manner. And I think the proposals, climate change is an existential threat for some of these Pacific nations. But some of the policies or principles that we've already seen outlined in this morning's media is that we're not going to tie strings to what we do. We've got the principle of transparency. We want to make sure that we only support high-quality projects. We also want to make sure, of course, that we engage in local priorities and use local contractors. And I think this is also going to help Pacific nations with their rapidly ballooning public debt. It's doubled in recent years, and at least 20% of that debt's owed to China. So I think Australia's being a good neighbour, and I look forward to more detail today. Okay.